One thing about wearing a corset, you cannot have bad posture because it hurts.
Ooh, corset question. A,
Ugh.
fri- a friend of mine got a corset top.
Okay.
Once everything's pulled as tightly as the cords will allow, it's still a little loose. Is there any trick to make it more snug despite that fact?
Short of just straight up altering it, no.
That's what I thought. Okay. I just promised them I
I'm
would check.
happy to alter it for them,
So
something
put
I'm
that on the table.
capable of doing, but no.
I will put on the table of having you alter and see if that is a priority for her.
A different thing that I also need to practice for, which is an audition for a bunch of rep companies. It's an opportunity for actors to come get in
Ah,
front of a bunch of people at the same time.
it's like a big
So I
pitch
am,
event.
yeah, I'm in the process of figuring out if I'm gonna do that. So if I go and I show up when the building opens at 8 and I get an early audition slot, then I could feasibly be back in the city for my noon class.
Yeah.
If I go and the 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. lunch break space is already completely filled,
Yeah.
I've already trekked all the way out here. Do I wait in the holding room for hours to sing 16 bars and do a tiny monologue and miss all of my classes for the day?
I thankfully have never had to deal with that level of triage. There's not a lot of cattle calling for illustration work. Do they still call it that?
I've not heard that term used, but that doesn't mean it's not.
Okay, gotcha. No, my friend who does independent films now, but was primarily an actress for a long time, she constantly called them cattle calls, so that's what got stuck in my head.
One of the main reasons I'm looking at the rep opportunities is that's a slightly less high octane method of getting into equity.
Hmm.
It is an equity audition. What I would be going to is the second day where they are accepting non-union auditions.
Ah,
Um, but if you audition and get into a production where most of the actors are equity, then you can make a decent case for applying to join the union. And once you're in the union, then
yep,
auditions get a lot easier.
gotcha.
I don't know how much familiarity you have with audition season.
Is this theater
And
specific?
yes,
Ah, okay. I'm only really
actors
familiar with
equity is
this is loosely familiar, but not accurately familiar to me.
if you're non-union and you want to go to you want to audition for these equity shows, what you do is you show up and you put your name on a list and you wait. And if at the end of the day, after the producers and casting directors have seen all of the people in equity who got their reserved time slots, if they agree to see non-union people, then you go in order of the list that you put your name on at 4 in the morning,
Oh God.
and then you sing and dance for the people.
Have you ever experienced an old school style Black Friday?
I've never experienced a modern Black Friday. I
Okay.
stay far away from it. I've heard.
People would literally, after Thanksgiving dinner and stuff, they'd go home, take a nap, and then at 1 a.m., everyone would start lining up outside of stores in the cold and just wait until 7 a.m., 8 a.m. when places opened up, and they just stampede in. And this sounds like that as a constant norm, and I hate everything you just explained.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, you're going to be a little excited about this one. Today, I'm talking to Maddie from 20 Sided Tavern.
Okay, that's so cool.
I was very surprised. I had sent a cold DM to her and a couple other people who I don't actually know in person at all, and she bit hard. And I'm very much looking forward to what kind of weird nonsense I can learn from her about what she's been up to.
That's I am such a big fan of her. I've been to the show 7 times. And no, she's fantastic. It doesn't matter what role she's in, she pulls focus.
Right.
Just
Just always has little standout moments, yeah.
yeah. Her storylines are the ones that stick with me.
I really, before they vanish to do their touring, I definitely need to see her in the DM role live.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a moral imperative.
Absolutely.
But yeah, she should be here any minute. So I'm going to get a refill, and I will check in with you about 45.
Okay, I'll be over in the corner just geeking out.
Maddie, good to see you.
Oh, hey, Griffin, so good to see you too.
I'm so glad you decided to sit down with me on this. I'm very much looking forward to talking to you and getting your perspective on this weird stuff I'm trying to unpack.
Thank you for inviting me and wanting to hear my goofy internal little thoughts about it. I'm really excited to unpack this with you.
To dive in as hard as possible.
Let's do it. Dive in
so-
hard.
So I'm familiar with you from your 20-sided tavern stuff out of New York. I attended one of the shows sort of on a whim when I was visiting my friend Julia. Did the like last minute rush thing, me and all the D&D players that I run games for. So it was absolutely perfect, and I am so glad you responded, because I didn't have a really easy hook. So far, I think everyone else I've talked to like knows me personally. You're the first person who I was able to get who doesn't really know me personally, so I appreciate this hugely.
Yeah, you sent me a DM that was just like really lovely and exciting. I also just love to talk. So I want to give mad props to, hey, a cold DM, a cold email, I have so much respect for, because you throw it out there and it was so well written. I was very eager to respond. So good on you for having a good cold DM.
I'm really glad to hear that, because that's always a really tense thing to try to navigate.
Yeah, I've been there too. And you take it so personally, right? Even in all likelihood, that person just didn't see it, or they don't have bandwidth or whatever. It is not personal, but it's so deeply vulnerable to send something out there. So I get it.
No, I've been really lucky that everyone's been excited about this so far, but it is one of those things that like, so I was talking to my friend Lindsay, and we were talking about like that concept of people on different tiers of clout within industry, especially theater industry. And how for you as somebody who has no real sense of your reputation yet, it's strange to try to reach up. But for even people with reputation and clout, like, you're still just theater people who love creativity, and like it's not as weird to them as it is to the person trying to reach up.
Oh my gosh, I have so many quick thoughts about this. You said the word clout, and I truly am I'm a goblin. Like, I play a goblin. It's so funny for you to say clout, because to me, you and I are peers, and I just don't feel. It's interesting. Perhaps this is quite a bit of catching up to myself, quite a bit of imposter syndrome, but I certainly don't consider myself somebody with clout or any of that. I just find myself to be extremely stoked to be here. But at the same time, I want to give credence to what you're saying. I think for all of us, this is a massive journey of creativity. And sometimes you just taking stock and appreciating every moment. And I guess, yes, right now I am a professional full-time actor, and it's incredible and it's humbling, and I'm so fucking stoked every day. But it also is, this is very recent for me, and also non-linear. And so I also want to appreciate that, because so it's wonderful for you to be like, hey, look at you, and I'm like, look at me. What? Look at you. Perspective is such a funny thing.
Let's talk about the non-linear aspect, because that has been a running theme, and it's one of the things I most want to highlight, because I do think there's this toxic projection of, here's how creativity is supposed to work as a profession, and you succeed by these very few narrow paths, and I've never found it to be true. And I found people who chase those very narrow paths to end up very frustrated and very much like in this pool of people who are following the same advice with no actual exits.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to point out. It was the non-linearness of this whole journey was a very painful lesson for me to learn, because I too felt that there was some sort of secret. There was, if I could just do this one thing or talk to this one person or get this one opportunity, it would unlock that door. And that is a tough fallacy to operate by. And then there were cases where I booked something and I was able to quit my full-time job to do it, but that gig was a month.
Right.
And then you think, but then you go with all the confidence and ambition in the world, you're like, and I'm gonna hop back in, and now I'm on the audition circuit, and I'm gonna get something. And the answer is, for me, no. In fact, I quit a full-time job. I had this amazing experience. I felt that I grew so much. It was such overwhelmingly positive. I felt like I had all these things in line. I had made connections. There was potential. And then I did not book a single thing for 14 months. Ooh. And was auditioning a lot. Also had to get another day job to support myself. And so I was working full time, auditioning a lot, and just was not booking, was not connecting. I think I got depressed. I was so confused and down on myself. And so much of that was because I felt I had done something wrong.
Yeah.
And the answer is, no, you didn't. It's always important. At the same time, you have to be reflective, and you have to be willing to grow and change and practice always. But I had told myself that I squandered an opportunity.
Oh.
And the answer was none of that. I'm a big proponent, and it still is really hard some days to understand, but no one is going to get your job. When it is right for you, when the timing is right, when you have honed, when you are there, there's a lot of other factors. There's luck, there's preparation, but the simple thing is no one is going to get your job. So if it's not for you, it is not for you, and things take time. That also goes down to there is no linear path. And all of us, I think the vast majority of creatives can point to, you get something and then you have nothing. And you have to make ends meet and keep going. But the once you get one thing, the domino effect, I'm here to debunk it. That's a fucking myth, y'all. Please don't be fooled.
Yeah, no, the myth of the domino effect, or that once you get through one door, everything else opens up. Complete nonsense.
Yeah.
But I love that idea of nobody else is going to get your job. That is one of those things, because everyone brings something unique to the table at some level. If you're putting the right work in, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, if you believe in yourself and what you're doing, and really feel connected to your work, there's a place that you land that makes sense for you, and that doesn't duplicate as easily as people believe.
And I would also caveat it too, where again, it is agonizing, right? To really want the job, to feel so connected, to get the call back, to feel right there. And then of course there are moments too, it's a very common story, right? Where you felt so aligned with it. And then let's say it's a commercial and you don't book the commercial and you're not sure why. And then you watch the commercial and you realize that a variety of factors. And again, it's rather than get down on yourself, what really helps with no one is going to get your job is, and with complete respect, because people have very busy lives and so much to juggle, the more you can create things on your own from a place of, it's just for me, it's pure creativity, this is mine to make. I don't expect it to make me money, I expect it to give me a creative outlet. The more that you can just have hobbies that are not acting or not creative. Hobbies typically will inform your performance and your creative spirit, but have stuff that isn't this, so that you can be a well-rounded person, and so that the losses aren't everything. Yeah. Because, it's that thing of, dang it, I didn't hear back about that audition I really wanted, but now I'm going to go do a stupid writing session with my friends. I'm going to go play D&D. I'm going to go read my this latest fantasy book at this new bar I've been wanting to check out. Anything for you, I highly encourage you to do it, because otherwise it's so easy to focus on the concept of what is wrong with you, which again, nothing. The answer is nothing. The answer is simply, this is tough.
No, but that's really good to respond to that moment with adding more fuel to your fire of different ideas, different concepts, different other creativity, other creative outlets to keep yourself moving, keep yourself absorbing.
Yeah, I mean, my primary gig now is I'm with the 20-Sided Tavern at Stage 42 off Broadway, and it's a dream, and it's primarily feeds off of it is Dungeons and Dragons, and it's also a passion for storytelling and the ability to improvise. None of that is what I was going for in my career. All of those are hobbies. And it's incredible to see that sometimes the things that you love, sometimes that coalesces in a way that you cannot anticipate.
Indeed. But you created co-founded a Chicago-based improv thing.
I did. So that happened. So I fell into improv in general in college. I was on a very different path. I have a degree in human nutrition that I do not use. I'm so sorry, Dad. But I did improv for fun outside of classes because I was really interested in acting, and I also just thought I wasn't funny. It was very much so a freshman year fuck it moment. There's something I want to do. I'm gonna audition. I won't make it. I roll, and then I did.
How wrong you were.
I was so wrong, but also it was a thing of improv in college was my release, and it's how I met my best friends, who are to this day my best friends. So then I'm just hanging out with my buddies and doing improv. And then I continued doing improv because I moved to Chicago and was very interested in acting. Improv is a great way to be involved in acting, but it also was a really comfortable home for me as I was trying to stretch my ability and kind of figure things out. But I will say too, I was told basically when I said I want to be an actor, I'm working towards it, I was told by someone who is very accomplished and, as you'd say, clout.
Got it.
And they told me, don't do improv. It'll never lead to anything for you. And the intentionality behind that advice was so pure. Everything has a bit of its own perspective and truth to it. From that person, they were being like, you need to focus on other skill sets if you want to get here. But the funny thing is, I never quite listened to them. And or better yet, I think for me, the switch flipped where I went, okay, improv isn't going to lead me anywhere, so I'm free. Right? When there is no expectation of a destination, you operate on the journey differently. Granted, it took 10 years, but the funny thing was I then did improv with joy and laughter, and because some of my favorite people do it. And that's how I get to spend time with them. Over time, that snowballed into, we were doing improv in Chicago, my favorite people, the funniest people. We were doing a show that was very consistent and my favorite thing to do on Fridays. And it was profitable. So the next solid step is, well, let's make this an LLC so that we can pay folks and so that we can better represent ourselves. All of it still was just like, this is so that something we love can be nurtured a little bit better.
Yeah.
And now that company is doing extremely well. I'm so proud to say that I believe it produces some of the best long form genre specific improv in Chicago. And we run at Second City and we run at the Annoyance Theater with great success. It just goes to show it's called High Stakes Production.
Thank you. High Stakes Production. That's why I didn't know if that was just the name of the company or also the name of the theater.
So it's the name of the company, and we produce it in tandem with these. We have partnerships with these various theaters to produce these works.
Gotcha.
And I say all of that again of like, it was never, we're going to form a company so that we can do this. It was, as you talk about clout, sometimes you have to look up, and I still forget where I was like, oh yeah, I'm a co-founder of this company. All of it was done as a loving passion project without the pressure to make my life, right?
I don't know if you know the comedian Randy Feltface. It's like a puppet comedian that tours around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I don't know Randy, but I know his work.
I went to one of the live shows in Boston just after I started the LLC for a watercolor kit that I'm moving into manufacturing, but I didn't mean to. Like, I was just trying to get a prototype of my own, like, personal needs made, and it just sort of steamrolled. But at the thing, I somehow got picked out of the audience for a thing. He's like, oh, well, what did you do today? And I'm like, I accidentally started a business.
Yes! I mean, that's it. It's the idea of when you set yourself free. That's exactly, as you say, I was like, how did I get here? Oh, I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to. I had no idea. My ass was trying to get into Shakespeare plays for a while, thinking that was the path I was supposed to take to show that I was serious and skilled. And for those that do Shakespeare and classics in general, oh my gosh, you're amazing. I don't say that with judgment. I just say that was something I felt that I was supposed to do and did not do it with success. But in the meantime, accidentally I'm a part of something that now very much so informs my work and my daily life. And that could change again.
Of course.
But it's the funniest things. It's when you let go and you just operate from a place of instinct and a place of, I do this because it fills me up, as opposed to it takes out.
Yeah.
That is deeply personal for every person, but I know that I had to learn that, and I had to learn it painfully because I was very resistant to that sort of vulnerability and that unknowingness that is this entire thing. Anyway, then I was like, I'm such a little dum-dum because, of course, the answer was always let go and be open to what avails itself to you to not be at all what you expected.
Yeah. No, so I do want to put a pin on the advice that you had gotten before all this about not doing improv. But before that, that reminded me of, there's a comedian who I quote a lot. I think his name is Jake Johansson, but he had a bit a while back where the line was, well, it wasn't plan A. A number of things went wrong to get here. And I've always quoted it that way, and I feel like from this conversation forward, I'm going to have a revised version of, it wasn't plan A. A lot of things accidentally went right to get here.
Yeah, I mean, it is a constant mix of like, so many times I felt like I was like rolling down a hill, like, oh shit, I can't, what's happening? But you still somehow like land on pillows. It's the rolling part that's really scary, but in the end, it's like, there is actually, you were trying to go up a mountain, you fell down a ravine. There's actually something cool down that ravine.
Right. But no, the idea that like, so this is one of those things where, especially with people who have made it at a certain level, where they are often asked for advice and they often have to like ground their experiences into like sound bites that they can give people in moments where they spot them. There's this, I guess it's I forget what it's called. It's not success bias, but it's something to that concept of like, once you've succeeded, you have a certain perspective of how you think things work because that's how they worked for you. And I feel like it's really important when you get advice from someone who has, in your eyes, made it, that you don't confuse their advice for a correct path that you should follow. Like, take what you need, but know who you are.
I think whenever possible, talk to as many people as you can.
Yes.
And understand that all of their answers are valid, but their answers. And therefore not the answer. And I would say too, at least for me, just surround yourself by good people. Like not only, let's say, even say in a professional sense, not just talented people or hardworking people. Surround yourself by people whose actual characters, who they are as a person and how they operate, inspire you. Yeah. I think with that, then if nothing else, like, if you energetically, it just feels better. But also, I think in terms of like, to put it in the frame of manifestation, if you are surrounded by that kind of energy, if you are surrounded by people that you are actively rooting for, you also tend to be the person other people are rooting for. Yes. And you tend to have a lot of inspiration to pull from. And then you can also have a lot of lessons learned and things where it's absolutely so cool to be like, I would like to speak to someone as a mentor. I have this very specific career question I want to ask. Dope, do that. But sometimes also just having these partnerships and community, there's a lot to be learned by passive conversation because you tend to be surrounded by folks that, for whatever reason, are good for you at this time.
Well, in terms of like the psychological application, there's this fascinating concept. So I'm sure you've experienced it where like a friend asks you for advice and it's something that you yourself had struggled with, but when you're trying to help them, the answers seem more obvious because from the outside, you're less tethered to the outcomes. But then you're also accidentally giving yourself advice in the process and seeing more options and pathways than you would if you were just trying to solve your own problems.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely, it also reminds me, so I remember my biggest study technique when I was, back at studying in college is I would say things out loud. I found that if I could take my notes and I had them memorized and understood in such a way that I could effectively pretend I was the teacher teaching the concept, then I knew I was ready for the exam I was preparing for. And I kind of forgot that approach for a long time when I was just an adult in the working world, where it is that of if you can speak about it to somebody else in an approachable way, then then you might be onto something. But I also hedge it with like, it's really hard to take your own advice. It's really hard to see yourself within it. And I think too, I want to caveat, I'm sure that I have given bad advice previously, because I was really trying, again, that idea of hoping in a desperation to have the answer. I was saying things as fact when the answer was simply, this was my personal experience in this specific moment, but here were the 50 extenuating right? So I think too, I hate to come to you with this, but I really have been practicing in the past few years, and I don't know mind, which is, I don't know. Here are details and context I can provide. Maybe we could pull some conjectures from it, but I don't know. That has helped me immensely better approach my world. So I guess that's the only reason why I'm remiss, where I'm very cautious about, I don't know. But I'm happy to chat about it, and with the utmost intention of, I hope it serves you a bit. I also just hope that you don't feel alone.
Yeah, no, that's also huge. No, there was on your nutritional experience, expertise. There was a point in my like late teens that I had absorbed some piece of information about like, oh, you shouldn't eat like 2 hours before bed. Like, it's not the best time to be adding new food to your system. You're about to fall asleep. That kind of like very simple concept. And for months, I went around telling other people, oh, you shouldn't eat past 10 p.m. because I go to bed at midnight, no earlier. So I had clocked it to my thing, but was giving people a count. And it wasn't for like a while until someone was like, why would it be a specific time? And my brain immediately ate itself, being like, oh, I fucked up. I fucked up so hard.
I mean, we all do it. That's the thing, though, right? Where, as you just said, your personal experience sometimes is incorporated as fact with the science, the whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, but that's what makes being creative and trying to navigate all of this so tough, because everything is, take it with a grain of salt. Every single thing. And
but it is one of those things, if I had approached it with a more I don't know, or if I'd approached it as if I could talk on this, if I could explain the full concept, it'd be better than me just citing the one takeaway I had. Like, playing with information is always better than thinking you know a fact, in my opinion.
And also, I think okay, not to get super heavy, but I really adopted the I don't know mindset. Not even specific to like trying to be a professional actor. I adopted it very mindfully about 2 years ago, because I was going through a very difficult set of personal life changes, loss and confusion. I found, long story short, that I was really prolonging my pain and my self-doubt by, again, pursuing a solution. Because the answer was, there was no solution. There was nothing that I was doing wrong to have fostered these things. It's just life is life, and painful things come up. And the only thing that really helped me kind of emerge from my own really dark, anxious place was to understand that there is no possible way for me to outthink it. And instead going, I don't know, but I can only follow like what is joyful and what is fun. And again, that was me doing improv with my friends is joy, and helps and makes me want to get up today and face a couple of things, because I know at the end of the day, this is the reward would be that. So I was trying to, and I was making a lot of decisions out of pain and fear, and that also prolongs the process.
That's hugely tough to get out of.
Of course, and everybody has their own things. Again, only for me, and at this time, learning slowly but surely to just go, I don't know, but this is the intention. This is what I'm going for at the moment is great. And I think and this feels very counterintuitive, because again, when we have goals, there is all those things about commitment and drive and ambition and habits. You can always change your mind. You are allowed to change your mind. Is something that I like. Please know you can change your mind. It's not just about like maybe the career path you're on or a big goal that you have, but it also means you can change your mind about yourself, and particularly about how you think about yourself and what thoughts you give yourself every day, because those do stick. Like, thoughts have power. And when you have this one version of yourself in your brain, that too is a way of often prolonging pain over time.
I honestly have tied that concept to a lot of the imposter syndrome I've tried to help some of my friends with, where like they seem to have this fixation of who they are versus who they think they should be. And those definitions, if you focus too hard on where they're not overlapped, it can really clog you up.
Yeah. Oh, I know that struggle. I'll say I'm still very actively, that I think has been my primary focus, is exactly that. I have an image of who I think I ought to be and who I am. And I have to constantly remind myself that the ought to be doesn't exist.
Right.
And the ought to be, also, again, for me, it's how does that serve me now? Yeah. And am I doing this from a place of ought to be or a place of amness? And so I'm finding, little by little, because I know I can change my mind about myself, then that ought to be, like, the lines of that are fading, if that makes sense. Like, what used to be a oil painting is now kind of like a thin pencil sketch. Nice. Because I know that expectation isn't real.
No, I have tried to take my own revision against that by constantly thinking of things of whether or not future Griffin will be happy or sad with my decisions, more so than like what I ought to do based on a perceived outcome. Like, will I be happy when I deal with this in a week? Cool. Will I not be? Then let's think twice and just see if this is worth it.
And again, I think that the people you find yourself surrounded by, when you can't trust your inner self-talk, sometimes looking outward and seeing the people who surround you am I a person surrounded by a community of inspirational and aspirational people who make me better, people who I know love me and will also be true. Like, if you have that, you're doing fucking great. Like, you are onto it. And sometimes that is enough to be like, that's why I'm such a huge proponent of work with people that work with great people.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, you become better by osmosis.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to put that. So speaking of working with great people, how has it been going from one of the 20-sided tavern players versus being the DM now?
It's been a really cool challenge and super humbling in an awesome way, because I've been with the tavern for 5 years now and have gotten to play the characters quite a bit. Warrior, spellcaster, trickster. I've listened to and worked with our DMs and have been so in awe of what they do, but really listening to them do it, interacting with them, and then doing it are two very different things. And it's a different way of playing and performing and thinking. And so it is really cool to come in and be like, I have a lot of practice to do, honestly. And I've always been enamored with stories and storytelling. And so to now finally kind of like gotta step up and learn how to weave a story on this scale with again, I work with awesome people. Yeah. So they got my back and they're doing all this incredible work. And so to just kind of sit there and sometimes help stir that story soup is awesome. But yeah, I say it as a good thing. Oh man, I can't wait to just keep getting better and better. I feel I'm on the start of a brand new journey and have a lot to learn, but I think that's awesome. I think that if any of us have an attitude of, I don't have more to learn, I don't have more to grow, then again, you're not helping yourself.
Yeah. So. Is there any specific of your own flavor you started trying to pepper in or started thinking about trying to pepper in? Has it just been sort of like following what you've seen done as a player, seeing what the DM has done, or are you trying to like get your own flavors put in yet?
I'm still figuring it out, but I will say there is, in general, a lack of representation in the arts. There is certainly, I will only speak from my personal experience as a femme in the arts. So I don't want to try to speak for other communities out of hand, but I would say there are there's just not a lot of femme players in this space. There are certainly not femme DMs in general. I've gotten that feedback a lot from personal experience playing Dungeons and Dragons, also from fellow players. It's just not a space with as much gender representation. I am really looking forward to add my own voice to what does it mean to be an empowered femme voice who gets to drive things in a space that tends to be primarily male dominated. So that's really, it's really cool to just be like, all right, let's go. Because there's also, oh my gosh, there's also, it's fun to identify little bits of social conditioning too, you know?
Yeah.
As someone who identifies as she, her, to come in and know that in normal social circumstances, I tend to benefit from kind of muting my voice or waiting to make a concise point. Loudness doesn't, and authority doesn't necessarily work for me in a day-to-day interaction, just by virtue of appearing as femme. But when you're a DM and you get to drive things, I've found where that conditioning doesn't serve me. And it's fun to unpack that a little bit more as we go on.
No, that's very fascinating awareness to have to navigate internally while on stage, for sure.
Yeah. And I think too, it is cool to stretch a new muscle, because the roles require, at least for me, a very different way of thinking about how to play and how to contribute to the story. And it's just cool to have been involved in something for several years and to now like open a brand new door and be like, oh shit, what is this? Like, it's not familiar. It's not honed for me. And that's a really good challenge that ultimately will just make me better as a performer in general.
Okay. So given that, have you had any external pushback yet? Like any weird responses from like audiences or followers?
No, I have only been given immense support.
That's fantastic.
And encouragement and inspiration. That's the thing.
Are you hoarding it or are you rolling it?
Am I? Hell yeah, D&D. Oh no, I'm rolling with it. I can't hoard it. It just feels too good. And then it's encouragement to share with others. What I didn't anticipate is every single show I have done, I have been approached by strangers who have said it is so awesome to see someone like me. It feels like I'm being represented in this, and I've struggled to find I want to be a DM, or I've struggled to find a DM who feels more representative of me or the stories that I want to interact with. And that's the coolest thing. It's also a great reminder too, if I want to hyperfixate and be like, well, I think I could have done this moment better. I messed up that line. And that's true. And sure, practice, get better. Yeah. But to also be like, it means something, and it's just such a positive reinforcement mechanism, because it inspires me to keep going too. And again, it goes back to, I know that right now I'm exactly where I need to be because I'm surrounded by so much good community and energy. And that's the thing. When I look up and go, oh, wow, look at this feedback I'm getting.
Yeah.
That is a good indication that, okay, then maybe this is a path to keep exploring for a while.
No, that's fantastic. Do you know what you're up to next? Like, do you have any other things going on? Any other things you're working on? Where's your brain floating?
I'm currently so profoundly fulfilled and challenged by my current work that's awesome. But the answer is also, I don't know what's coming down the pike, but I am ready for it. I am trying my best to prepare for whatever might coalesce coming up, primarily again by like taking on new hobbies. I'm trying to increase skills. For me, I'm a super physical person. I really love movement.
Oh, I remember. Watching you like flip and roll around on stage is no joke.
So I think, and literally just for fun for me, I'm trying to learn this insane breakdancing move that I genuinely do not have the physical strength for. So, and again, it's just for me. And so but weirdly, I think as I continue to just build little tools that I don't know when or if they'll ever come in handy, that's another way of me just taking time to be like, again, what's happening in 6 months? I don't know, but I know I'm going to have 3 new cool tricks that I learned because I do think I will say the 20-sided tavern has really exciting potential and conversations going on, which I think is always cool. But on top of that, we've gotten to work with so many phenomenal people that it's just exciting to expand out and be like, I've grown in this way. I've met so many cool people. I'm really excited about all of that. It all feels good. It feels like the soup is getting better and better. That's the best and healthiest way for me to view what the future is, because I don't know. And the more that I try to solidify it, the more I actually stand in my own way. So I'm so sorry. I just gave you the longest non-answer.
No, but that mindset is the valuable thing I'm trying to tap into in these conversations. That ability to see that trying to solidify a future outcome is not helpful is huge for a lot of people trying to navigate these spaces. So let's dial down to the soup base then. What are the hobbies you're reaching out to keep yourself occupied right now?
Yeah, so number one, I got more into weightlifting and strength training.
Cool.
I watched this one lady on YouTube who she's so cool. She's this Irish bodybuilder and she's all about form. And my ass before has always just been like, I'm sporty. I played soccer for 11 years. I came from a very athletic family. So I always kind of have been inclined to move, but I haven't been inclined to study how movement actually serves you. And then for the past year or so, really started to get into like the kinetics of it and what is efficient and what is helpful to my old ass bones. And guess what? That really helped me in then starting to do the tavern, because we do 8 shows a week and it's really physically demanding.
Oh yeah.
And inadvertently me learning how to treat my muscles better has actually really helped me. So it's all those things of, I never anticipated that would feed into it, but it does. I'm also an avid baker. I love sweets. I love eating sweets. I love making them. So I've just been reading more recipes, and I make bread a lot that I bring to the theater. So I'm trying out new techniques with that.
That's amazing. I can't bake a lick, but I love cooking. And I've been slowly, finally taking my recipes and putting them on a secret back page on my website. And
get it. Share those.
My friend Archer has been helping me, they're vegetarian and they live in a kosher household. And so, they've been helping me clarify my recipes of what could be edited to make it functional for those communities, and just trying to make sure that anything I've made has a version that anyone can have has been really interesting to try to, augment.
I think that's so cool. I love that, too. I also have gotten into homemade pasta making more and more.
Ooh, that's very brave. I have no confidence in that, but I would love to experiment someday.
Oh, no, I'm here to say, get that shitty attitude out of here. Pasta is easy. It is flour and egg and salt, and then you roll it out. So I think you got this.
It feels like baking, and I'm scared of baking. I'm not good at following exact ratios. I'm too improv with my cooking.
I feel like we'd be very good then, okay, I'll make the noodles and you make the sauce, because that's where I actually am not that confident.
Oh, I love cooking for large groups of people. My favorite thing, actually in New York, my favorite thing is staying with Julia is by the end of the weekend, I'm always invite whoever you want over. I'm going to cook for everybody until you all surrender.
Samesies. I am a Sunday dinner person.
Yes.
We now do typically 2 shows on Sundays, so it's awesome. So my Sundays are typically, I get to be at the theater, which is such a cool thing to get to say. But if a free Sunday, I am all about making a roast, making something that cooks all day. I love group meals like that.
Fantastic. Look at that. We bonded on something completely off topic.
We did. I guess the third, I love plants. So I'm surrounded constantly by my plants. And I am currently training my monstera to get another new leaf. And yes, I talk to them. And yes, they have names. So that's kind of my other thing, is learning how to keep these boys alive and happy with when I have a very overactive radiator and very good light in my room.
I have no green thumb. I'm envious of my sister for it. When I pet sit for her, like she'll just be like, "Okay, send me photos of the plants," and because she knows I can't read what the plants are doing, so she'll just look at the photo and be like, "Okay, take this one, give it a 20-minute bath, and then put it back in the where it belongs. Take this one, you're gonna spray it." Like very distinct instructions. It's insanely. It impresses me to no end, and I cannot wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I actually also killed everything, killed every plant. Despite having three wonderful parents, my parents and my stepmom all are avid gardeners. So I grew up around that influence.
Oh, that's amazing.
Built everything. And then again, I was very lucky a couple years ago, a good friend who she is a plant witch. She is a savant of plants. Got me started on like basic understanding. And now I am absolutely like a plant ant for sure.
That is fantastic.
I love my little plant babies. So, but I get you where I'm like, I am by no means an expert. And I certainly I wouldn't have the confidence to do exactly what your sister does. But I do know, I can vouch, I have learned a lot. And I'm excited to keep going. I feel like eventually, if I can be eccentric and wealthy and just living in my greenhouse with a caftan, I feel like if somebody gave me $1 million within 2 weeks, that's who I'd be.
Right. Well, I don't want to eat up any more of your time. You've been very generous sitting here and chatting with me about all of this. But do you have any little nuggets of wisdom, any takeaways that you haven't already pinned on, or anything you want to repin hard?
Oh my gosh. Again, just thank you so much for letting me come here and chat with you. I guess I really want to give credence and respect to the journey can be super hard. And there's so many times where you are made to feel less than, and you have to be your own best champion, and know that some days you're going to be better at it than others because you are a human being with a complex life. Giving yourself grace and patience, I think the ultimate thing you can do is whenever possible, do stuff you love just because you love it. Like, fuel yourself by that energy. It will manifest into positive opportunities, whether professionally or just personally, in ways you can never anticipate. The unknowingness is part of the process, and the more you can sit with it, the less pain you'll be in. And whenever in doubt, reach out to people you love and just talk to them.
Yes.
I would say. And other than that, just like mad respect to everybody who is on their own journey. You work really hard, you persevere. Grit is one of the ultimate qualities I think any person can have. I'm so in awe of it. Just know that you are not behind. You are not the one person who doesn't know the secret. And to those of you who work 40 hours a week and then come home and still carve time to be a little creative, to make something, to do anything.
Yeah.
You are incredible. That is being a superstar.
I love that. I usually try to encourage people to view themselves as the protagonists of their own stories, but that is so much better.
I think I'm in awe of people who do that. So props, my eternal constant props and my constant cheerleading to you. I say, fuck yeah, you're amazing.
Absolutely. Fucking love it. People trying to track you down. I think Instagram is mad.mad.murphy.
Yep, that's me.
And for High Stakes Production, it's highstakesproduction.org.
Yes, please. And at High Stakes Chicago on Instagram. I would also say, please do come see the 20-Sided Tavern. We are at 20-Sided Tavern on Instagram. We have a cool-ass website. And
I cannot recommend the show enough. It is such a good show.
Oh, thank you. Well, hey, and I truly mean it. If you come to the show and want to say hi, please do. That would be awesome. We're all here telling a story together, and it's your story to help tell with us.
Fantastic. Thank you again. Have a lovely rest of your week.
Thank you so much. You too, Griffin.
That was a very interesting conversation. Maddie is absolutely delightful.
I've always really admired her. I think she seems like a lovely person to know.
We bonded at the end about like cooking stuff. Apparently they do a lot of like baking and make their own pasta. So there was a polite, soft offer to like co-cook at some point, which would be very neat. I don't know
That's
how
really
much
fun.
they meant it. Yeah. I don't know if it's a real offer, but like, apparently we both share a love for feeding lots of people at once.
Can I volunteer to be one of the people?
Oh, you're top of the guest list. But no, she went into a lot of interesting stuff about having an I don't know mindset at the moment of taking opportunities as explorable in any case. And I don't think I know many people doing that right now. Like, most people I know are very goal oriented or like have some idea of what success looks like that they're chasing, and not so much just keeping the peripherals open for whatever shows up that might be interesting.
I think it's a really valuable mindset to have. I also know a lot more people who are going after one specific goal and one concrete idea of what they think success will be. And it feels important to be able to at least switch between them. Like, I think it's a helpful ability and flexibility for a creative to sometimes have a solid goal in mind and a concrete idea of what they want their success to be. But if and when that becomes or is realized to be unachievable, the ability to fall back on looking at opportunities that are around you and consistent awareness of them.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I fall into like this weird other pocket of the same concept because I've never been married to the outcomes as heavily as a lot of other people I've worked with. I always have projects. I always know where I want the individual projects to end up, but the number of times I get sidetracked by somebody else, I'm very prone to getting excited about other people's excitement and chasing that car with them and then trying to figure out where my car ended up.
I think in a roundabout and backwards way, that's how you ended up here.
Very much so.
You got excited about an idea, and you're dragging all of us along with you. Willingly, I should say. But
I appreciate that. That is the phrase I keep using is, I think, dragging everyone kicking and screaming towards my nonsense comes up a lot in discussions about this and many other projects.
And yet, you don't see any of us putting up a fight.
Nope. Nobody's actually kicking and screaming. I'm just imagining it.
Imagining it makes it sound like you want that to be happening, like it'd be more fun for you if we hated this.
No, that is not what I was going for, but as per usual, my inability to properly vet my words on their way out does not help me communicate any better. I did recently find out that I forgot which one of the Green brothers has the same combination I do, where he doesn't have an inner monologue or an ability to imagine images. He did a whole video about trying to figure out how to explain that to people, which I found very helpful in at least normalizing it a bit for myself.
Cool.
But anyway, no, it's tricky. Like, I also, like, professionally, I don't job hunt a lot. I've been job hunting a lot right now, and if I get a conversation, I get that job. But most of the jobs I've ever had, like, somebody else I was talking to just realized I had a skill set they could use and brought me in. But, like, I tend to just jump on other people's trucks and go for rides. And I should probably be more cautious about it, whereas I like Maddie being a little bit more intentional about the openness to what's not intended.
Yeah. It's a fun thing to do and to practice, is intentionally expanding an artistic network. I've watched you unintentionally expand it so many times, and I have certainly benefited from your expansive network. But I haven't put intention into expanding mine in the same way until relatively recently. Partly lack of opportunity, partly lack of consciousness that it was something I wanted to do. But I think I mentioned a while ago that I'm doing costumes for a short film that my friend is working on.
Yeah.
So I was chatting with him, and we realized that it would be a lot easier for the people who are shooting and a lot more effective as a storytelling device if instead of having some of the flashbacks be like shot live on a different set, if they were animated instead, in kind of like a shadow puppet style.
Oh, I love
And
that.
I know a few different animators. So I was able to reach out to one of them and say, hey, is this your style of animation? And they said, yes, absolutely. Whipped something up in 10 minutes that
Ooh.
I lost my mind over. And they also said that they'd be happy to do the animation part of it, but they would need to work with an illustrator. But I don't know any who would be doing this kind of work. So I asked them, like, do you have an illustrator that you work well with that you want to bring in? So now the network has extended from my friend who's writing the script to me doing the costumes to my friend who's animating to their friend who's doing the illustrations for the animations. And it feels very good and satisfying to be building this kind of artistic network on my own.
Yeah, that's huge. That's basically the same way I've always done it. Actually, at one point in the discussion, Maddie said something interesting that I really liked. It was something to the effect of, if you're surrounded by people that you're actively rooting for, you also tend to be the person that other people are rooting for. And it's the same concept in professional application. Like, you thought of people who you know have skill and you want to see do more with it. And by doing that, you've now expanded a network, and someday that's going to bounce back and someone will think of you in a similar context when they know that somebody needs someone with your skill set. Or at least that's how I found it to work.
I am very hopeful about that.
I mean, it's not universal. I know plenty of people who will just take opportunities that they're offered from people who are thinking of them, but then they're also just thinking of them, so they don't really know how to reach out in other directions or reciprocate. It's that Merc mentality that I cannot stand, but like, they tend to weed themselves out pretty quickly.
Most of the time, I tend to trust my intuition about people.
Yeah, no,
And
your intuition's great. One of the big things she's been excited about is, since switching to DM as one of her roles, being a femme presenting person in that often not seen as a femme role. She's been very thrilled with the opportunity, the practice, the change of experience, and the feedback and response she's gotten.
yeah, as like an audience member who loves 20-Sided Tavern, it's been really cool to see how the show has evolved. Bits of representation just fall so naturally into place there.
Hmm.
In the context of International Women's Day, the 20-Sided Tavern posted a video with a bunch of their femme presenting cast members talking about what it meant, and everybody made very good points, but what Maddie said really stuck with me because they talked a lot about how much it meant to audiences to see them in that role,
Yeah.
and how like parents come up and talk about understanding why their kids enjoy stuff now and understanding why their daughters love playing D&D in the context of seeing Maddie do that on stage.
That's
and
fantastic.
It was, I think I watched that video like 3 times in a row because I was just sitting there listening to all of them. Like, everybody who spoke in that video spoke so well about how much it means to be a femme presenting person, a visibly queer person in those kinds of roles, and how it's so meaningful not just for femme presenting or visibly queer or like audience members of color, but it turns into a sort of feedback loop where, because it's so meaningful for the audience, it becomes so meaningful for the performer. And because it means a lot to the performer to be representing everybody in this way, that is felt by the audience, and it's felt to be very meaningful as well.
No, that's a fantastic, inspiring loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I go down that path and become visible in the way that Maddie is, it's something I hope I take with me.
I can't imagine you losing that. Speaking of which, I don't know if you saw on the server, I opened it up and if anyone else felt like DMing for one of the games instead of just having me do it.
I did see that.
And
I did think about it.
Julie keeps telling me that she can, or keeps considering me a forever DM, and I'm like, I don't feel that way because I play in other people's games. But I can see how you guys think that because I'm always the DM for our group.
I
But
saw
it's
it.
not on purpose.
I'm thinking about it. I have so many vague mind map ideas for what I would do. When in the world do you think I would find time to DM a campaign for us, Griffin? Our last campaign was at 9 a.m. on Sundays.
I knew it wasn't going to be abrupt, but I wanted that stew to start brewing in the back of people's heads in case that was something there was an interest in. So I'm glad it's doing at least that because that was the goal. Well, in any case, I'll see you when I finagle us into 20-sided Tavern before they vanish for their tour. So, I mean, all this is kind of pending on the ongoing job hunt to see if I have a big adult job that can fund most of this nonsense, but I'll keep you posted.
That sounds like an excellent plan. No, my brain, colander, salad spinner.
I've never heard salad spinner applied to this, but I like it better than colander.
Well, I usually say my brain is a sieve, but I had already said that, so I wanted to use a different word.
Always so thoughtfully verbose, as opposed to me, who is just chatty. Or loquacious if you want to get fancy about it.
When do I not?
Head to shadedareas.com to learn more about the show. Or, if you'd like to support the show, head to patreon.com/createartrepeat. And depending on what level you support the show at, you could score yourself some fancy merch. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay thoughtful, stay playful, and keep creating.